Welcome to You Can Do It Too, the podcast highlighting regular folks who followed their dreams and made it happen. I'm Joan Hutchinson, your restaurant maven. I'm a former caterer and restaurateur turned hospitality business consultant and public speaker. I started this podcast because I've met a lot of young people in their 20s and 30s who were very successful. When I talked with them about their businesses, I was so inspired. It's not that obstacles didn't pop up for them, it's just that they didn't see them as a problem, which is a huge part of why and how they overcame those problems. It was their mindset. I was so inspired by them, and I realized I could really use some regular inspiration to keep working on my dreams. I figured I wasn't alone. It's just so important that all of us realize we all have it in us to succeed. So You Can Do It Too was born. I've since interviewed many folks, both young and more experienced in life. We drop new episodes every other Sunday. Hey, if you enjoy a specific episode, please rate it. I'd love it if you could give us a 5-star review and share it with someone you think could benefit. I am so glad you're here, so let's get started. Welcome to You Can Do It Too. I'm Joan Hutchinson, your restaurant maven. I am thrilled that you've joined me today because my goal with this podcast isn't just to inspire you, my listeners, to take action. I am dedicated to equipping you with the tools you need to achieve success. Today, we are talking with Brianna Shrader. With a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Creative Photography from Cal State Fullerton, Brianna embarked on a career that transitioned seamlessly from studio work to founding her own multi-photographer enterprise, Shy Heart Studios, in 2015. Her evolution into full-service family portraiture and the recent addition of personal brand photography services reflect Brianna's passion for capturing impactful images at every stage of life. Beyond photography, she launched an education platform in 2024 to empower other photographers to harness the power of AI in building successful businesses. As a photographer, entrepreneur, and mother of 2, Brianna brings a vibrant mix of artistry, leadership, and real-world understanding to her work. Welcome, Brianna.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you for having me.
Super excited. Thank you so much. I asked Brianna at the last minute to join me this week so we could talk and get this recorded. I'm just super excited because Brianna, you've branched out in the last year or two to personally specialize in brand photography. Is that right?
Yes.
So you have been working with entrepreneurs on helping them build their brand. So branding is talked about so much these days. It's kind of a buzzword. Will you please define what branding is?
Yeah. So there's a couple of different definitions that float around, but I think the best way to describe branding is that it's the process of shaping how you and your work are perceived by your ideal client.
So shaping how you and your brand are perceived by your ideal client.
Correct. So it's kind of bringing that personal element and the professional element together and helping you show up more at least in the world of photography, it's about helping you show up more authentically. So what we do in my industry, in my business, is we take that professional, we know what you do, right? Like we're in a world where anybody can start a business tomorrow. There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in any industry across the country. But what sets you apart from everybody else that's doing exactly what you do, from every other coach, from every other esthetician, from every other real estate agent, is who you are. And so with branding, we're taking what you do, because that's what you're known for, and who you are, and we're bridging that together so that you can connect better with your ideal client on social media, on your website, wherever you are showing up in the world. That's the purpose behind at least personal brand photography.
Okay. So then when they work with you, you are taking images of them that they can use not just in like ads, but in social media and in things that they can, you're going to be giving them all of these pieces that they can use in many different facets. It's not just standing in the store that I run with product.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's beyond the world of headshots, right? Like corporate headshots are really a thing of the past and in most industries at this point. Sometimes there's still a need for them here and there, but it's really about showing you helping you show up again, yes, on your website. We do want to make sure that you look beautiful and fabulous on your website, but showing you out living life too, showing the personal side of you and bringing that personal element to the forefront because perfect example, let's say you follow a financial advisor and he puts out these really great tips and you think that's really great, and so you're listening and you're kind of paying attention to what he's saying. You maybe save a couple of his stuff, and because of that, the algorithm starts showing you on whichever social media platform, the algorithm starts showing you more financial advisors, and you're like, oh cool, here's another, and oh, I like this reel, I'm going to follow that one. But then that first one you started following, all of a sudden you see this post about his 4 rescue dogs that he has, and you rescue dogs, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I rescue dogs.
Right.
Now you feel like you know him. And guess what? You're going to remember him because you learned about his 4 rescue dogs, and that's something that you connect with him on. So then fast forward down the road when you're actually looking to hire a financial advisor or a CPA or something like that, who is the guy among the sea of financial advisors that you're going to remember? The one with the 4 rescue dogs, right?
Right. Right. Makes sense.
So it's tying that personal so that it gives them a reason to remember you and connect with you. If you're a wine drinker, posting a shot of a photo of you with your favorite glass of wine or something like that and talking about it is, it helps you find that balance between a value add, a personal element and a selling element, so that you're not selling your product or selling your business constantly on the feed. It's
Uh-huh.
providing value. It's providing a personal touch so that people fall in love with more than just your business.
Wow. You explained that very well. So, what have you seen that are common mistakes that business owners make when it comes to branding photography?
The most common mistake is thinking that you aren't the brand. So, like I said earlier, the thing that sets you apart in your industry is it's not what you do, it's how you do it, it's who you are, it's the reason people remember you. And I get a lot of clients that first inquire with me and they're like, well, this is really about the book, it's not about me, or this is really about the product line, it's not about me. And I'm like, no, no,
Mhm.
no, it is about you, because there are, again, millions of other skincare lines out there, millions of other books out there on the same topic, written differently, but who you are is what we want to show, because we want your book to stand out because of you. So the most common
Right.
mistake is thinking that you're not the brand and hiding yourself and not stepping into that spotlight and showing the world that, yes, I'm an author. Yes, I wrote this book, and here's some other really cool facts about me and my life and what led me here and what led me to write this book.
Hmm. So, so when you first talk with a business owner, obviously that's probably the first thing that you have to get them to understand.
Right.
Um, how do you have do you have a worksheet that you give them, or you know, how when you do you meet with them and like get a list from them, or do you just have a list of questions you go through that you ask? How do you figure out uh, what should be in their pictures?
So I do 2 different calls with all of my brand clients. They'll either come in and sit with me in my studio, or we'll do a Zoom call, because I like to get face to face with as many people as I can. because again, that's my brand. I'm my brand, right? So I
Right.
like to sit face to face in every opportunity I have. But I start with a discovery call. So the first phone call that we have is understanding what their business is. What their brand values are and what the goals are of the photo shoot. And so we kind of start there. I do have a worksheet that I sometimes send out, but I usually just go through it with them and ask them the questions myself so that I can start a conversation. And you know, you can fill out a worksheet all day long, but the conversations that get sparked through asking those questions live are really how you get to the bottom of what what someone's message is. And it's how I connect with them, right? So I want to make
Right.
sure that I'm connecting and I'm understanding who they are. And the best way to do that is through those conversations. Once they decide to book, we then do a full planning call where we go through every single step of the process. I offer 3 different types of brand sessions. I do a refresh, which is nice and short and sweet. I do a half day and I do a full day. So especially if we're doing a full day, but honestly with all 3 of those options, I still need to like plan out where are we going to go? How many outfits are we going to do? You know, what elements do we want to, what personal elements are we going to tie into your brand? Are we going to go sit at a bar and have a drink? Are we going to, you know, take a walk on the beach? Are we going to go for a hike? Like, what are we going to do? And so we plan out um, hour by hour on that next call so that there is no second guessing. I'm not showing up like, cool, we're going to take some great headshots and I'm going to pose you in all these different ways. I absolutely direct and pose my clients, but I also want to make sure that we're bringing out those personal, authentic elements of who they are beyond the business.
So you do a lot of like not in their business shooting. You shoot
Mhm.
outside and in different locations.
Yes. Yeah, because the business is only part of it. It's really only
Right.
part of the brand. The business is it's the money-making part of the brand. But I would also say that so is the personality. That is, I mean, truthfully, the personality, honestly, now that I'm going to backtrack, I think the personality is more of the moneymaker than the actual businesses because that's why you go back to somebody. That's why you continue
Right.
to or why you stop going to somebody. It's because of
Hmm.
the service that you get.
Right. Man, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I think about like people that used to come to me to do their weddings, and I I just love catering so much and dealing with people that I'm sure the fact that I was so excited about their wedding made them excited
Yeah.
about me catering it for them. So,
Absolutely. If you were to act like they were, you know, taking up your time and you had 50 other people waiting for the same date, they would not have,
right.
you know, they wouldn't feel that
Right.
connection with you. And it's personal among any industry, really, is that connection is so important.
Yeah. So can you share some examples of how you've helped businesses enhance their brand through photography?
Yeah. So I think it's really hard to put into one category when it comes to photography. So the photography obviously helps, but what's really important is what you do with what we create. So I also bring a content creator on all of my shoots so that the clients also get some of that B-roll, that behind the scenes footage of the session of themselves. I'll stop shooting, we'll stage them walking and doing other things for literally just cell phone footage so that they can then turn around and use that in reels and things like that um, to grow their following, right? Because reels and video are the most highly visible things that you
Right.
can do on TikTok, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, everything. They want video, so we do a little bit of both. We're bringing the professional photography and some of that less professional video. We do also have professional videographers, but typically people just want that quick and easy clip. Um, so we create the material and then it's up to the client to use the material. I have a client that I'm just about to book the next session and she just told me she's hardly used anything from the first session and I'm like, what are you doing? Go
Right.
back and use it. You have to use it. She's like, I will, but now I need, you know, X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay. I have another client who has booked me 5 times in the last 6 months because her entire business is all online and she's using it constantly, and she has now gone viral multiple times. But again, it's her the content that it's not just about my video or my photos that we're giving her, it's about what she's doing with it and the way that she's utilizing social media. Um
Well,
So I
she
guess
must feel like it's worth it, right? If
oh,
she's continuing to
absolutely.
book, she's
Absolutely.
getting some sales from the fact that
Oh,
she does that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've worked with somebody who's running for office in Huntington Beach as well. So I've worked with political candidates. Those are, all over their website, all over their Facebook page. And again, it's allowing people to show up authentically but professionally when you work with somebody who understands brand photography.
Hmm. Can you give us some tips on how an entrepreneur can choose the right visual elements or the right things that represent their brand through photography?
Absolutely. So it goes back to what the traditional idea of branding was back in the day, which was your colors, your logo, your your font type, etc. Those elements are still really important in understanding your brand and your voice.
Mhm.
But the best things that you can do going into a shoot, obviously you want to find a photographer who understands brand photography. It just like if you're going to go hire your wedding photographer, you're not going to just hire somebody who has a nice camera, hopefully. You're going to hire somebody who actually does weddings.
Right.
So what I find in this world right now is there's a real spike in the need for branding and brand photography. So there are photographers doing it, but I've also seen a lot of people that I know just go find some random photographer and think that they
Mhm.
can just do headshots. But you want somebody who is going to carve out your day with you, carve out your session, understand your brand voice and understand your brand values so that they can convey that in the images. Because as a photographer, it's our job that's our job, right? It's not your job to show up and know all of the ways that your brain is going to look really beautiful. It's my job. I right before this recording, I was on a call with a client that we're going to go up, and she is an esthetician, and she's just
Mhm.
launched her skincare line, and so we're going to do a shoot to talk about or not to talk about to show all of her products and to show her using them. So we're booking a house up in Arrowhead with a really pretty bathtub, and we're going to get shots of. And we talked about this. We looked literally through Airbnb together to find the house, and I know that this client loves bright white. So we're looking we're looking at cabins. I'm not going to help her find something that's full of dark wood. I'm going to find her something that's light and bright and has a cute tub. So we're carving that out together, and it's really important to have somebody that's on board with your vision and understands your vision and your brand voice. Again, I feel like I've said that like 16 times now,
Uh-huh.
but
Right.
that is really key because you want your images to be consistent and clean and beautiful and really speak to who you are and not just be you sitting, in front of a brick wall or a black backdrop.
Right.
So we found a
So,
space that really speaks to her and her colors and her values and all of those things. And we're both super excited about it. It's going to be such a beautiful session up there.
so then when you say that you as the photographer and the entrepreneur, you need to understand your brand voice. So so as an example, I'm a coach for independent restaurateurs. So,
Hmm.
and my focus is really on building strong teams. So teamwork, and I know that's the answer to all of my clients' woes. Um, so that would be like, that's my brand voice, and my values are, the honest and caring and respect. Those things that all go into building a strong team. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So if you and I were planning a session, I would first think, okay, we need some shots of you directing a room, talking to a group of people, teaching them something, looking like a person of authority in a nice, blouse or blazer or however you feel that you're most like professional. We need you in a beautiful looking restaurant commanding a space. Then we need
Right.
you taking notes. We need you sitting on the computer. We need you talking one-on-one with somebody and laughing too, because it's not all serious. It's not all formal. So
Right.
we want to bring some of that. We want to bring that connection because obviously when you're hiring a team and that level of importance is key, you also want to express that you communicate well, that communication is really important. And when you look like you're having fun and having a good time, people want to work with you. So those are
Yeah.
just off the top of my head. Those are things that I would immediately start picturing when talking to, somebody who coaches restaurateurs. Did I say that right?
Right. I know it's weird because there's no N in there, restaurateurs, but who says that? Nobody says. The Square Rigger Lodge in Door County offers everything you need to relax and enjoy a wonderful vacation, weekend getaway, or honeymoon in beautiful Door County, Wisconsin. Located on the sandy shores of Lake Michigan, our rental house, cottages, suites, and motel rooms give you sanctuary from the hustle and bustle. Whether you visit to enjoy the county's amazing scenery, shopping, or family-friendly attractions, you can be back at the lodge in about 15 minutes for a relaxing evening on the beach. Stargaze until late in the night and wake up to the most spectacular sunrises. The Square Rigger Lodge is your perfect Door County destination. Visit us at www.squareriggerlodge.com. See you soon.
Restaurant owners, we'll go with that.
Right. Okay. Or a realtor. So a realtor,
Yes.
you wouldn't just have them, you might have them at an open house sign or with a client.
Inside a gorgeous listing.
Right.
Inside a gorgeous listing, but also sitting outside with their spouse, hanging out in their favorite space in their home, because that's something to talk about, or in their own kitchen doing something, cooking because they love to cook. But also at a gorgeous listing with their listing materials, talking to a potential client, handing over keys, like things like that are very like realtor-esque, but also that personal, what's your favorite space in your own home? What do you love about your neighborhood? Getting them out doing things in their community or the community that they sell in, photographing them at a cafe that's really popular in that community that they specialize in, interacting with the locals, that kind of stuff.
Right. Ooh, see? Everybody needs to talk to you, Brianna.
Thank you. I agree.
You just spit these things out of your head like they're in there, living in there. You already thought of this stuff before you even came in. I knew I was going to ask these things. She didn't know, but What is your favorite thing about doing these brand photo shoots?
My favorite thing is the same across every type of shoot that I do. So my business focuses on weddings, families, and brands. And for me, it still comes down to the personal touch and the relationships that I get to build. My brand clients that come to me regularly become really good friends of mine. Like we're traveling together, we're going to coaching seminars together, and that level of connection is very different too, because I feel like because I'm working with other business owners, there's this next level understanding of the struggle of building your business or expanding your brand. And we're all kind of like doing it together, and I'm helping them in a lot of ways. And just in the friendship, they're helping me in return. And so the relationship building, really, I love it. I really love it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like you're very good at it. So, can you tell me what was I going to ask you? Can you share some current trends? Trends a bit, well, besides branding, because we know it's a trend. I hesitated to call it a trend in the beginning because I think it's going to last, right? But
I agree.
Can you share some trends or about branding photography that the entrepreneur, when they're hiring a photographer, should be aware of?
So definitely the content side of it. I hate to use the word content because it's all content, but the behind the scenes footage is a really, really big trend. And that's why we have just started. I don't even charge extra for it. I just throw it in because I pay my content person to be with me for every shoot that I'm on, so that I always constantly have footage of me shooting. I used to carry around a stupid little tripod and shoot and photo and film myself. And I would go back to like 8 minutes worth of footage where I'm like half out of the shot, and I finally broke down. Yeah, I finally broke down and started paying somebody to do it. But just having that video element is really a big trend, and I think that it goes beautifully hand in hand with the photography. So every reel that I ever create, because I'm a photographer, I personally can't do it without a professional image as the cover of the reel, because it just like irks me to see when they're not. I know not everybody thinks that way, but having that content, whether it's something your photographer offers, or you have somebody on your team that can come and do some of that, we call it B-roll footage, is it just adds a next level element to the brand session, because then you have this great stuff that you can use to post tips and things like that over.
Uh-huh. I when you say that, I picture the Kardashians. That's terrible, but
I
you
know.
know, you see the scenes of them where they're getting their makeup put on and they're talking to each other, and
Yeah.
it's in the show. But that's what
Yeah.
that's what I
Yeah.
flash on when you say
That's
that.
it.
But I have
That is
seen
totally it.
that definitely
Yeah.
on social media.
Yeah. You'll see it all over mine. If you look at mine, it's constantly. And, I also, another thing people are doing that is just something you can do, obviously anybody can do this, is just buy a little travel tripod. And it sounds silly to be filming yourself everywhere you go, but that is what branding has become. And so,
Right.
a perfect example, I
Right now, hang
posted.
on. I need to grab my picture because I'm supposed to do that while we're talking, right?
Yeah.
I'm supposed
You'll
to
be
get a
recording yourself.
picture of us talking. I don't even know if that'll work, but I'm doing the
Here, I got it.
picture
I
of
got it.
the
I'll do a screenshot of us talking, and then I'll send it to you. It'll be even better.
Great.
Ready? All right.
Yeah.
Ready, set, smile. Got it. So, but even you should be just popping your phone up and recording. I mean, you're recording this whole thing, but just getting clips of yourself talking that you can, that are shorter or whatever, that you can throw on something later, or clips of something that you say that you can pull the audio from and use as an over content or a audio overlay on a post later. You just never know when you're going to say something awesome. You got to keep that camera rolling.
Right. Right, because it's always on. I was saying that to somebody. I was talking to someone about doing the podcast and saying, oh yeah, we have to wait for it to upload, and when we're waiting we say some really great stuff, and
Yeah.
of course it's done recording, so as we're sitting here waiting for it to upload. But
Yeah, I mean, just simple things like having that tripod when you're cooking in your kitchen, or doing something at work where you can just like literally get a 5-second clip of you walking down the bar or something like that, or pouring a drink. That's content that you can use to talk about, bartending, or having a
right.
great bartender when you're running a restaurant, things like that. Just little clips that you can get yourself that are so easy if you just have a little tripod, or even a, little handheld gimbal or something.
Yeah, that's great. See, I have a little tripod.
There you go.
It's not the best tripod, but I have one.
You got one.
I need one with longer legs.
I'll send you a link for one that I just bought that was like $35 that folds down really small like that, and then can extend really big. I'll send you the link.
Love it. Love it. So tell us about your education platform that you just really this year, right?
Yeah, just in January. So I've always wanted to get into teaching photography, but I never really knew how or when that would happen. It was kind of always a tomorrow thing. Like, when I accomplish XYZ, then I can start teaching. And I think it was back in October, I was like, I run a business that captures over 100 weddings a year. I can teach some stuff. So,
Mhm.
and I've really been getting into AI this year, I got into it last year. I feel like as is impossible not to, with the way that the world is moving. And I realized that there's not a lot of people teaching it to photographers. So what I teach, literally anybody can use it. I've just geared it towards photographers because that's the industry that I know. But I ended up partnering with a photography podcast and launching my very first masterclass on AI marketing for photographers. And we have 3 more masterclasses that we're going to do together this year. And I'm also about to do an Instagram brand accelerator, a little 3-day challenge, if you will, coming up. And I'm putting together a full, I think 6-week, that's where it's at right now, 6-week course on just the business aspect of photography coupled with AI tools.
How do people access these things? So when you're talking about the podcast and you're doing the masterclass, that's just a live, that's just, well, I guess it wouldn't just be live then, right? It's recorded. So people can.
We did it live, but it is recorded and people can still go and buy that and watch it and get the materials that go with it.
And so how do they find that? You're going to give me links?
Yes. I'll send the link to that. And then I'll send you I don't know when the mini course is going to launch quite yet. We're working on that. But hopefully in the next couple of weeks that will be launched as well. And that will be on my own platform. So the AI marketing masterclass is on the PhotoBiz X podcast. So I can send the link to that. And the other one will be on my own platform.
Awesome. So when so curious. I'm very curious about all this branding stuff. And the reason why I'm so curious about all this branding stuff is I think mostly because you need so much material for social media, because you can take 10 pictures and then you're bored with those. You can't keep using those. You need a million things. And so I just and it's something important that every business owner needs to know about and should be doing, right? I mean,
right.
And like you said, you can, everybody who's listening, she's not just talking to me about buying the tripod. Everyone who's interested in or anyone who's running a business, right? Or right? Yeah. Everyone who owns a business or wants to own a business should be doing this and should be listening to what Brianna is saying, because it's just so important. We've got to get our name out there, and what makes us different. What makes us different is us.
Exactly.
Sometimes we offer something special, like you're doing these classes for other photographers, but your knowledge and your understanding and your experience, of course, that's a selling point too. But people getting to know you. Do you feel sometimes like it's a little too personal? Sometimes I feel like I don't really want to tell everyone what's going on with me.
Right. I think so. The coach that I am currently working with talks about this a lot. So there's definitely a fine line between sharing parts of you and concealing parts of you. And the way that she describes it, which I think is so great, is if it's something you haven't healed from, don't share it. If you're sharing just to vent, maybe don't share it. But if you're sharing it because it's something you learned or something that taught you something of value, if there's something that you can share that's personal that might help somebody else, but you've healed from whatever that was, that is the difference, is whether or not it's an open wound that you're sharing. So perfect example, yesterday or the day before, I shared a little reel that said capture everything. And it talked about how important, did you read this one by chance?
I didn't see that one.
You smiled. I thought maybe you'd seen it. Okay. So I talked about how I used to never take my camera unless I was being paid, because I felt like I was working, and it wasn't that I didn't want to share my talent with people. It was that I just didn't, I would get into the zone and feel like I couldn't enjoy the atmosphere. And then there was this Christmas Eve that I brought my camera because I had either gotten a new camera or a new editing program or something that I wanted to test out. And so I brought it to Christmas Eve dinner. And this was right before my aunt was diagnosed with dementia. And I have these amazing photos of my mom and my aunts laughing their butts off over couponing for Black Friday. And shortly thereafter, my aunt was diagnosed. And those are some of my favorite images I've ever taken. And it's just because I decided to bring my camera. And I also shared that I had promised my dad a photo shoot with his grandkids about a year and a half ago. And we kept putting it off and putting it off. My siblings and I couldn't get it together. And then my dad landed in the emergency room. And thankfully he is okay, but he almost died. And in that moment, in that week that he was in the hospital, I was looking through his phone for stuff, and I came across these pictures of, just from his phone, of him and my kids, and I just lost it because I thought I didn't get him that shoot. And now he's going to die, and I didn't do it. And thank God we were given more time with him. I was able to recoup that and make that shoot happen. And all those photos are so precious to me. So I take my camera everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
so those are personal elements that I shared that are very personal to me and very real in my life. But I'm not sitting here venting about my dad's diagnosis. I'm not telling
Right.
everybody to feel sorry for me because my dad is sick. I took that and I spun it, and I wouldn't say I'm fully healed from it, but I'm healed from that trauma of that moment that is the purpose for what I was sharing, if that makes sense.
Right. It does. It does. Yeah. Because I just like, yeah, I'm okay with just talking about what I can teach you, but I'm not so
Right.
okay telling you I hate my haircut, but I love my haircut. I don't
It's
hate my
very
haircut.
cute.
I'm like,
Yeah.
it's kind of sassy, I think it's
Yeah.
cool. Um,
There's so much stuff in your past and your restaurant history that's personal to you. Like, even from a business standpoint, I have a failed business partnership in my past, and I talk about that. I talk about it very carefully because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but like, I talk about how I got to where I am, and I wouldn't have gotten there without that failed business partnership. So
mhm,
there's those moments of growth that are business but personal, that make you
mhm.
feel like you've got nothing left that somebody's going to resonate with because they're in that moment. And so those personal notes too. And even sharing your haircut, even if you don't love your haircut, or, like, those things I think are okay.
Uh-huh. All right. See, everybody, did you hear that? Those things are okay. All right. The
Yeah.
other thing, I work with coaches too, and they're like, oh, post all the time, post this, post out, whatever. We need these materials from photographers and from
Right.
ourselves. And then I have a business and a personal page, and it's like, where do I post? I don't want to post the same thing on both. So then I need even more material. So it's not just
You
me
could,
who needs
though.
someone like Brianna. Everyone
Right.
needs
There's
someone
a
like
lot
Brianna.
of Yeah, it is tricky. It is tricky. You could also collaborate with yourself, by the way. I'll show you how to do that. You can collaborate between your accounts so that one
Uh-huh.
post shows up on both.
Oh, yeah. I know how to do that. I just
Oh,
don't
okay.
like to, because then it's like the same
Yeah.
thing. Only sometimes will I do
But
it.
you have different followers on both, and some of them are going
Hmm.
to cross over, and they're not going to care if they see it twice. They get it.
Yeah. Or somebody said to me, they probably didn't see it. Or they didn't even pay attention the last time.
Yeah.
So it's not going to
Right.
hurt if you do
Right.
it again.
Right. Well, and that's a good point too on recycling some material too. So if you have a topic you've already posted about, like, chances are half your audience didn't see it the first time. You can not necessarily repost the exact same post, but like, still share that tip or whatever, share it in a different way, share it on a different video, same exact tip over different audio, or with different audio, different footage, as well. And just repurpose some of that content too as you're running low on ideas.
Mhm. Good to know. I'll take that advice. So what is your best advice to someone who is looking for, besides that they should just hire Shy Heart Studios if they're not in California?
Hard to do if you're not in
Uh,
Orange County, California.
right. If you're not in
I mean, we'll
California,
travel, but
what, what should you look for when you're looking for someone to do this shoot
so,
or this type
again,
of
I would
shoot?
say somebody who has experience with brand photography, but, pay attention to the experience, and, get on that first call. And if they're wanting to just book you via email or book you via text or something like that, they may not be that fully invested in what your brand is all about. And so I would proceed with caution in that situation. I personally would not want to invest the money twice on the same shoot if I don't get it right the first time because I hired the wrong photographer. So I would just make sure that that person is wanting to connect with you and understand your brand and isn't putting all of that work on you. Because one, that causes more stress for you. Two, it means they probably aren't really emotionally invested in the shoot. And you want a photographer who's going to be emotionally invested with you and make sure that they're expressing your brand the way you want it to be. And then also taking it to the next level, because you shouldn't know how to express your brand in images. They should. But if they're not going to go to the steps of understanding your brand and understanding what your goal is with your photo shoot, then they're probably not the right photographer.
Wow. Okay. So these are things that everyone needs to hear. Pay attention. Listen to Brianna. We
Take
are
notes.
going to, yes, right? I hope you were taking notes. I should have said that in the beginning. Get a pen. I will make sure that I share all of Brianna's information. So anyone who is in California and Southern California and the Orange County area, that is where Shy Heart Studios is, although they do travel for the right people, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate you sharing all of your knowledge today. And I know that I personally got quite a bit out of it, and I am sure that everyone listening did too. So I want to thank Brianna so much for joining me today and sharing her knowledge. I want to thank all of my listeners for being here today, and thank Chris Hutchinson for editing this and all of my podcasts. Make sure you like and follow, and hey, share this episode and rate us. See you next time.